Welcome to Holistica's A to Z of the Healing Arts. I'm Robin Wilkinson, and in the studio we've got Dr. Adam Suzman, and he's going to be talking to us about transformational medicine. Adam, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for being here.
Can you explain to us what exactly is transformational medicine?
Well, transformational medicine is looking at the beginning, the middle, and the end of disease. It's not just looking at the end result, which would be the actual disease state itself, but it's looking at the terrain whereby the situation became disturbed in the first place, and then going even further back to the situations that caused the terrain to be disturbed in the first place. So it's a very holistic view on medicine, looking at the whole thing as a giant board that needs to be altered in certain ways in order to bring us back to a state of health. So this is really the crux of transformational medicine as it differs from traditional medicine.
So I love it that it includes lineage and genetics and emotional and the whole tutti. It's not just waiting to get ill and then quickly finding a cure for that. So it's also quite proactive in that you can engage with transformational medicine if you want to transform.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to the reasons we got sick in the first place, a lot of it is often stuff we've inherited or acquired or from childhood, which are patterns which we then play out and then end up leading to disease. Often what we see of disease is just the tip of the iceberg, but we don't see what came before, the actual ice underneath. Now, with transformational medicine and beyond medicine, we're able to actually instill certain archetypes into our field. We can embody certain aspects of abundance, of creativity, of focus, of decisive action. It allows us to model these behaviors in order to almost to become them, and then they become us in the way we would learn how to drive a car, and then it's kind of automatic. So we're kind of training the body energetically in certain ways of behaving and thinking.
So I love how you've come to this body of work that you've done with transformational medicine, being a homeopath for 20 years and really having such a good insight into people and where disease originates, and then being frustrated in that let's rather address it at the root cause, but the real root cause. And so out of that, you realized that you couldn't be all present to all people all the time, and feeling that everybody needed their own personal homeopath, and then developed some medicines or remedies that people could take where they could go literally on their own journey with the medicine. Tell us more about that.
Well, we've gotten to this point in life, however old everyone is, and we've made certain deviations along the way. So the example I like to use is we set off from Cape Town to get to Paris, and along the way we've had all these traumas, we've had these situations, we've had these unresolved things with parents, with partners, with work. So we've actually deviated in many ways along the way, and we end up going to Sydney. So, what this is, it's about recalibrating us, bringing us back into a state of balanced, kind of returning to our original position so that we can actually get to where we want to get to. Now, a lot of this covers our historical and ancestral patterning, which we're bringing to the party every day, which we don't necessarily understand where we're acting from. Because in many cases, people are acting from subconscious and unconscious patterning. So they do habitual things repeatedly without even realizing. And often that stuff is just handed on from parents or grandparents. So we're just taking on the mantle of that and we're just playing that out. What this does is it allows us to break from that by seeing it, by stepping away from it, seeing this as a pattern. And then we're able to change our direction and return to where we actually originally wanted to go in the first place.
So are you saying that you've got remedies that can reach into our, say, self-sabotaging patterns and actually correct them or bring them to our attention? How does that work?
This is exactly what the remedies do. A lot of them focus on when we think of a situation, we have a traumatic event, and then we go into a pattern. So, for example, if it's raining, or dogs barking, we might flinch, right? But if a dog barks at us every day, we keep flinching, then the flinching becomes automatic, and then someone speaks too loudly to us, we flinch. That is then a pattern which we've acquired. What this does is it goes in and it unbinds that, it unwinds it. It actually removes the basis of the fear that pattern is anchored in. If you imagine the pattern being like a hook down into like the sea floor, we're able to unhook from that so that the emotion's able to disappear, to bleed out. Or when we think of a bathtub, we open the bottom of the bathtub, the plug, we allow the liquid to go down, and all of that liquid is the trauma, the pain, the suffering from childhood. And if we're free of that, then often the patterns will just disappear. So we're working from many angles towards bringing us back to our highest aspect of our self-expression, which is obviously what we're here for.
So it's quite a sophisticated form of medicine. I mean, it's one that you can engage with and go on a journey, almost like, I know one of the remedies, Lakshmi, helps you embody your abundance and feeling abundant, and it just brings that kind of archetypal feeling into the body. Is this something you've got to take drops and then you experience this? How does that work?
So the remedy Lakshmi is made from a few different things, but I mean the main piece is the Lakshmi mantra, where the mantra is being chanted into water and then amplified. This is what I do with water. I use it as a permeable membrane to imprint, and then I amplify it, so then I sort of send the sound back at a greater intensity than what it was received. But when we're using the Lakshmi mantra, we actually tap into the millions, the hundreds of millions of people who've chanted this mantra, who've actually created this energetic form that we're actually able to tap into. And by tapping into that, we, in a sense, become Lakshmi. We become that sense of abundance. So it's not like we have to model it. It's almost like we become it, and then we just have to let it sink through the system for a while so that it then becomes our nature. And then people have found that, the stuff just starts to come to them. They kind of expect abundance because they feel abundant, and as a result of feeling it, they kind of attract it, and then it seems natural to them. And after a while, people don't necessarily need it as much anymore because it's become their natural state.
So this is a great cure for poverty consciousness. If you're
Amazing.
feeling lack, then you just experience this Lakshmi of abundance, and then that becomes your new patterning.
Yes.
I know you've got another remedy called Kali, and I once experienced it. So generally I'm quite calm and sort of nurturing, and I took this Kali and I experienced my absolute, I don't know what you call it, not aggressive, but I just was a completely different person, and I didn't realize that I actually had that in me. I remember phoning someone and shouting at them, or just being very expressive. So, I mean, it's quite interesting that one can almost complete aspects of yourself by experiencing the different archetypes. Is that where the kind of sort of transformational stuff comes in, where you get to know yourself through taking different aspects of yourself?
Well, we all kind of model ourselves on different things. We might model ourselves on parents, or people might model themselves on a certain influencer they like to embody certain aspects to become more of that. What this is doing is it's acknowledging that we have both peaceful, like in the case of Lakshmi, and more wrathful in the case of Kali. These are just two of the Hindu archetypes we're playing with, and those are that aspect of us which just, in Kali's case, one just cuts through. So I mean, for example, when I have to do my tax return, I'll take Kali, and then I'm looking forward to doing the tax return, and I'll just chew through it like with claws. It's a sense of relish of like, I'm going to conquer this and I will win, and this tax return will not defeat me, and I'm actually looking forward to it. So I actually use it proactively to engender states to allow me to go into certain situations. People use it for, when they're going to court, or if they have a dispute with like a divorce settlement, or where they have to be more wrathful and engaged and no nonsense. So they actually take these remedies to actually, model this behavior, then it's like you automatically go into that without effort, and then you're able to bring about an outcome which you might not necessarily have in yourself, or you might not have easy access to. So this is the benefit of this system, that we can actually tweak our reality to the extent where we can, pretty much embody whatever we like.
I love that. Some of the remedies that you have got the most incredible ingredients. I mean, there's from mantras that you've potentized so that they sing out at you. You don't have to chant them. You can just take drops and then you get the mantra, to all sorts of variations of gold, to botanicals. I mean, I love the protea nectar that gives you joy so that you can skip through getting rid of your trauma. Can you tell us more about some of the gold variations and the mantras and how you potentize your ingredients?
Okay, there's a few questions, but we'll start with the gold. So I've been working with gold for many years now, and it turns out there's many different versions of gold. Now there's a whole lot of stuff around gold being used traditionally for many years and alchemically. I mean, I've got a liquid version, I've got a one that's actual alchemical version, which is made up with herbs. I've got a version I make up myself. I've got monatomic gold, I've got something called tartaric gold, and I've got what's the last one? Gold basma, which is burnt gold. So when we combine, the whole concept of alchemy is like using the mind, the body, and the spirit of substances. But in my latest remedy, Universal Panacea, I'm actually using all 6 of these to create like this hexagon in the middle. And then there's this hospital plant, which will actually diagnose and treat. So it's a living diagnostic and treatment format in a living thing. It's like it's brought it to life. That's the function of the gold. So what was the other part of the question?
With the mantras, like how do you potentize?
Yes, okay.
Mantra?
So basically, when you think of, I use distilled water a lot. Think of distilled water as hungry water. It's water without minerals. So it's like a sponge. It's ready to absorb whatever you bring to it. So when you mix it with minerals or plants, it's very easy. But when you use it with mantra, you literally just chant 108 versions of the mantra into the distilled water, and then you would potentize it, which is the homeopathic process. And then I go further, I amplify that frequency to make it stronger, so that instead of like a whisper, it's more of like a loudspeaker, just broadcasting, so that it goes into the person and can have a much stronger effect on people. And often these versions of the remedies I make are even stronger than the actual normal crude version of it, the actual material version. By layering the frequency on top of itself, I'm able to get more of like a, it's everything, if you want to think of it from a frequency level, from like ultraviolet to infrared and everything in between, all the spectrum. I'm covering the whole spectrum of frequency. And then when people ingest it in drops, it sends a strong message to the body, like a ripple effect, and it's able to change people's format.
Such a different perspective, this transformational medicine, actually being proactive and experiencing different things. And it's quite fascinating. I know that one of your latest remedies, I think, is called closure. And I believe you had a trial group where people were testing the closure and actually dreaming their trauma in dreams and managing to release it through their dreams. Is this normal with your medicines, that people dream the solutions?
A lot of the work does happen in dreams. Some people don't dream, and that's just that. But a lot of people, Carl Jung said that something done in a dream is somatically, biologically identical to something that happens in reality. So our body is not able to distinguish the one from the other. So if something happens in a dream, we have resolution with an old friend, physically, physiologically, the body feels that it's actually happened in real life, and we can draw that energy back into the world, and the body is then able to forgive the person or move on. So dream stuff is quite powerful. The dreams we had from closure have been amazing. People going into scenarios, having a tense situation, but then having a resolution, and then walking out with a different feeling and carrying that feeling through into the world. So, and then actually moving beyond the trauma itself. So huge potential for PTSD, for anyone carrying old trauma from childhood, from ancestral trauma. We've even had like past life stuff with this. There's been a lot of it really is, for me, it's the wave of the future, because its ability to unpack all the stuff that's actually causing us to get sick in the first place, addressing it in advance, clearing it, and then when the bumps of reality come along, they don't turn into the cancers or the MS or the whatever traumatic disease. It's just more like a bump, and we go back to normal.
Right. The one of your very first remedies that you ever made was called Liberation, and I think that's informed all the rest of your remedies, is that idea of being liberated from your traumas and liberated from your stories. Can you just go into how liberation works and what some of the ingredients are? I know it's got a whole range of fantastic ones, but...
Sure. Okay. So liberation in a nutshell, the purpose of liberation is to finish the unfinished. So we often think of karma as what happened, but there's also the karma, the flip side of the karma coin is what didn't happen. So the relationship that didn't happen, or the girlfriend that left, and then we weren't able to have closure, to finish off with the process, or what would have happened if we gone to live in another country, or, what it would have happened if our mother had stayed or left. So the key behind the ability of this remedy to work on that is something called Navaratna, which is, it's a fascinating substance. Nava means 9, Ratna is jewel. So it's made from 9 jewels, gems, precious gems. Each one aligns to like a planet in Vedic astrology. And what they do with this is they burn each gem 100 times. So it's like, this stuff takes a year to make, because it's just such a massive labor. Each gem they have to burn 100 times, and then the next gem 100 times. They can't burn them together, and then they add them together, and then you have the substance Navaratna, which was actually created by a Buddhist alchemist, an enlightened Buddhist alchemist in the 3rd century. And it was designed as a karmic medicine, a medicine to go in there and to finish the story. So like when you take liberation, what happens, like all your old girlfriends or boyfriends pop up and you have interactions with them, or they pop up in reality. I gave it to one woman in Dubai, and 3 of her ex-boyfriends phoned her on the same day, like all to check in. And she was like, oh, well, do I still want this person? Do I not? Do I still want this person? So obviously in her head it was still running, and it just brought it to the fore. It's like, okay, look at it. Yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, no, to actually allow her to move on and clear some space and move into another reality.
So it's like finishing the unfinished.
Finishing the unfinished. And, when I was taking this liberation, it felt like I was just throwing bags of concrete over the side of a ship. It was like, oh my God, getting rid of all this stuff, all these ex-girlfriends and broken friendships and family interactions and acquaintances that were somehow stored in the body as memory, which were unfinished because at the time I wasn't able to finish the story because it was too traumatic, or the person left, or something happened. I wasn't able to say what I wanted to say. And we've all had this experience like, oh, I wish I could have told him or her, blah, blah, blah. And often we don't get the chance. And that's like an arrow that's went into us and is broken off and it's frozen. And this just reconnects it and allows us to have closure, in some sense, resolution in a dream or in reality. And then we pull the arrow out, and then the energy that was stuck around there moves into the rest of the body. So we're actually healing ourselves on a really profound and deep level, which is not a level we're used to being able to heal with. And often this is addressed in sort of body therapies or trauma therapies, or sometimes plant medicines. But this is obviously completely safe, and it's very manageable, and people can engage with this journey the way they want to engage. And that's what I wanted with this box, was to create something that people could use as a tool, as a support structure to go on their own journey of healing, and to empower them by being able to do that.
I love it that you call it the golden box, and it literally is gold, and it's full of amazing things that you can explore your identity, explore your trauma, and get rid of it. Each little remedy's got its story. I know that you also worked with the immortal jellyfish. I know you didn't harm any jellyfish in the process. But what was the purpose of that?
So when I was looking at disease as a study, I was saying, well, what is causing us to get sick. Now, obviously, there are these karmic things, historical things, old memories, there's patterns, but then a big part of it, obviously, is aging, right? So, I mean, as we age, we get sicker. So, I I looked at all the immortal creatures. There's worms, there's hydra, there's all sorts of things, and I settled. There's the lobster. I settled on the immortal jellyfish because its mechanism of regeneration is quite simple. So what would normally happen in the wild is the jellyfish would either get injured or it would get old, and then it sends a message back to its cells to return to an infant version of itself, and then it basically blooms again. Think of a rose that gets old, and then it sends a message back to itself, and it turns to jelly, and then turns into a new rose. But this jellyfish can do this endlessly. It can do this thousands of times. So I was able to capture the message, no jellyfish were harmed, of that the jellyfish sent to itself to begin this process of regeneration. And then I found a way after that to actually refine that into a peptide, a protein, which sends this message of regeneration, and it's been very useful in regenerating cells, everything from like eye cells to skin cells to, I mean, internally when people take the immortal jellyfish, they have this feeling of the life force returning. They get more of a spring in their step. Walkers become runners, runners become trail runners become kite surfers. Everyone levels up. They get more energy, they get more life force. And obviously their joints improve, their organ structures improve, so everything starts to get stronger as they improve.
And if somebody wants to engage in transformational medicine, I mean, you've just got such a huge amount of different places. Where would one start? Can you just jump in anywhere and say, I get attracted to, oh my gosh, there's a remedy called Gaia, I love the earth, let me read about this and take that? Is that how one can do it?
There's no particular way in or way out. It's like you engage it according to where you're at. Like I have remedies, one called Genesis for ADHD. I've got Satori for like focus. I've got, remedies for specific conditions. But then I've got things like Blue Lotus, which are good for just calming the nervous system. I've got Creation, which gives you the feeling of the best day ever. I've got the Deity range. We talked about them a bit. The Gaia, the Kali, the Shiva, the Lakshmi. I've got those ones. I've got all the jellyfish ones. And then the ones dealing like liberation and closure, which deal with your personal history and clearing that. So a great place to start is always closure and liberation. If people want calmer ones, there's Tranquility, Blue Lotus. They want the more stimulating ones. There's like Garuda, Immortality, Garuda, and the End of Aging range, which is also working with the gold, and some Norse runes, it's another way of sending messages to the system to work on certain things. So I really have gone quite wide on this in terms of like what are the most powerful things I can find and distill and put into water and then mix together into kind of exquisite concoctions so that they actually send a very direct message to bring about a certain course of action that we might want. So to answer that, it's hard to say like where you would start. I mean, Creation is always a good start because it's like about your best day ever. I mean, that's got all the fun stuff of the world, and you take it and it's like, oh, I'm more open, I'm more expanded, I'm more playful, I'm more engaged. Oh, this is a better version of me. I mean, when I started taking it, I started engaging with the people at the petrol stations and like at Woolworths. I started actually being more engaged with normal everyday people before I'd just be in my own world. And now I'd actually reach out to these people and engage with them. So it's like repatterning what it is to have a more full experience of life.
So you've got your website, beyondmedicine.coza,
yeah.
and people can read more about their remedies there.
Yes. That's probably the easiest place to go. And then just see what you get drawn to. I mean, sometimes people get drawn to certain colored remedies, like the actual color of the remedy might draw them. Like the yellow might draw them, or the red, or the purple might draw them. They might be what they need. Or, I mean, obviously, if you have the time, just read through the website and figure out what it is you want.
Super, fantastic. Thank you so much, Adam, for talking
Pleasure.
to us. And you can find Adam on beyondmedicine.coza.
Thanks for being here.